Okay, our next witness is Teresa Garland.
Teresa Garland, that the testimony and statement of information you shall give in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Hello. Ms. Garland, could you, for the record, indicate where your position, where you're currently employed?
Director of Board of Elections.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just hold it, TT. Just pull it off and hold it. There you go.
You can see it, rest your feet.
Okay.
I know you've had your surgery, but
I'm the Director of the Board of Elections.
That's for Graham County.
For Graham County, yes.
I think earlier, I showed here, Exhibit 224, this was identified as the voter history for Ms. Emerson that's publicly available through the State Board of Elections. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Ms. Garland? Okay. Also wanted to talk with you about another aspect of the State Board's records here. I'm going to pull up on the screen first here. Give me just a second. So is this the transaction search? I'm showing it on the screen here. Something that's identified as transaction search by entity, North Carolina State Board of Elections. Is this the transaction search you can access publicly through the State Board?
Yes.
Okay. So you can enter a person's name and it will give information related to that person that's within the database, correct?
Yes.
So here, and I've downloaded this as an exhibit that we're just going through so the board can understand where it came from. Right here, I'm going to enter last name Emerson, first name Tina. Did I do that correctly? Ms. Garland?
Yes, I can't see that, but yes, I'm assuming you did.
We'll zoom in.
There you go.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Can we see that?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and search. Okay. Did that produce search results? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those search results in that search?
Yes.
And you can download, export those results. It says export to CSV and then new search at the top there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just throw up here those same results, but in a document that's marked as an exhibit. Give me 1 second. Are these those same 5 search results that came off of the website there? And take your time to look at them. I want to make sure you can see them. You can zoom in, I can do that as well.
Yes, it showed her name and her address, and then
That shows
yeah.
the donations at the end there.
Okay, I didn't look at that. But
I can go back if you'd like to.
okay.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. Scrolling across the screen.
Okay,
You
yes,
see that?
I do.
You see all the way at the end.
I didn't know that was on there. I've never noticed that before.
It would go all the way to the end. Those donations as well. Committee name, committee address, etc.
Yes.
I'll put that back up here. Is that the same as what we're seeing and has been committed, or excuse me, marked as Exhibit 178?
Yes.
I'll zoom out for a second so you can see that number, correct?
Yes.
We asked that this be admitted into evidence. One other thing that I'd like to highlight here in Exhibit 178, Ms. Garland, is, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Emerson she filed the registration with your office in September 28th of last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
I can pull that registration document up for you if that'd be helpful. We'll do that for a second. That's that document. document here marked as Exhibit 1, correct?
Yes, yes,
And I think you redacted here the date of birth and identification information, correct?
yes,
Okay. But you have access to that information,
Yes.
correct?
but the state board does not allow us to give that out.
Okay. You are allowed, though, to provide that in hearings like this to this board, considering it's.
Yes,
And was it identification provided as part of this registration?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know, I don't do these most of the time. My deputy does that, so,
There's nothing indicated here that identification was provided to show residency as part of this application, correct?
the way the form states is if they have a North Carolina driver's license, we have to accept that. That's per state law.
For state law. And here, even on this registration, Ms. Emerson has indicated Matthew's address is her last registration location, correct?
Yes,
Going back, just what we were talking about with that search. Again, the registration was submitted on 28th. I'll zoom in here. On this transaction, what this transaction, this shows political contributions, other things like that, correct?
yes,
And as part of that, someone has to indicate where they live as part of making that donation, correct?
yes,
And here we see 5 entries from Ms. Emerson, correct?
yes,
And the address that is indicated here is the 641 Swancroft Lane address in Matthews, North Carolina, correct?
yes,
Okay. I would like to look at the last 2 here, kind of going across. Those last 2, second to last, which was, is indicated that it occurred on December 2nd, 2021, correct?
yes,
That'd be after she submitted the registration claiming to reside in Graham County, correct?
yes,
Yeah. She's listing her Matthews address as a residence when she's making donations, correct?
yes,
And then in the second, or the very last one, that's dated April 8th, 2022, correct?
yes,
And again, after she's claimed to change her registration to Graham County, but in the donations indicating that her residence is in Matthews, North Carolina, correct?
yes.
Go back just a second to, this is already been admitted as Exhibit 224, you identified it as a voter issue from Ms. Emerson, correct?
Yes,
We go to that history and confirm Ms. Emerson had previously changed her registration in 2017 to Graham County to vote in that municipal election, correct?
that's what it says.
And the very next year, changed it back to Mecklenburg County, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Those are my questions, Ms. Garland.
Teresa, I just have a couple of questions for you. On the form that Mr. Miller was just presenting, this Exhibit 1781, it's very hard to see in the copy that we have. What is this?
If you go into, I think it's Campaign Finance, it's a search site that you can go into and pull up anyone that has donated money to a campaign.
Okay. Is it ever wrong? It looks, I can't really see, but it looks like there was a $250,000 donation.
I have no idea, ma'am.
Okay. Also, Mr. Nor, could you put that back up on the screen because I absolutely cannot see this tiny little print.
One second.
Can you fix that so we can see it, please?
Is that big enough for you to make it larger?
Can't see it.
I can call out portions of it. Is there a particular portion of it you'd like to see?
I want to see the $250,000.
Me too.
I guess $250. 250, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now, could you go to the beginning? It looks like maybe the fourth column, performance. Does that say, I think that says Chief Marketing Officer. I'd just like to point out I've never been a Chief Marketing Officer. Teresa, do you know if I've ever been a Chief Marketing Officer?
I have no idea.
Okay, me either. Can you tell us what the procedure is for verifying a voter's eligibility to vote once they have filled out the forms to you that they would like to register?
My deputy director does all that. She runs it through the system. We ask that people give an address so we may remove them from wherever else they are registered. We always send out a card to verify. If we don't get it back, then you're registered. We have instances where people will send them back or will not get them and it'll say NMR, no mail receivable.
So that's probably when the address, there is no address then.
Right.
So somebody put, for instance, 123 Main Street and it's Lake Santeetlah, and there is no 123 Main Street, Lake
Right.
Santeetlah. That card, for instance, would be returned.
Yes.
But if someone put a valid street address, like 124 Santeetlah Trail, that would not be returned to you.
Right.
Okay. And this is the card that we're talking about. This is the registration card that is mailed out, and that if the voter is, this is the card that the voter
Yes,
gets. I'm sorry.
it is.
My mind's starting to go.
Yes.
Okay. And could you read that name and address on there for me,
It
please?
says Tina M. Emerson, 124 Santeetlah Trail, Lake Santeetlah, North Carolina, 28771.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And when the card is returned, this verifies, according to North Carolina statutes, that I am
I will
then
object
an
to-
eligible voter.
This is drawing for a legal conclusion that the witness cannot provide.
It is the same here. You are asking for a legal opinion. She's not a legal expert.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. When I filled out the form, or anyone else does, who have been a registered voter in another county or another state, and they register and tell you where they have previously registered, you had mentioned that that notifies the other county that, does that ensure that there's no double voting within the state of North Carolina?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And with us, if you have any recollection, Graham County was notified that we were registered. Mecklenburg County, I'm sorry, was notified that we're now registered in Graham County. They didn't kick it back to you for any reason. They accepted our resignation from Graham County, from Mecklenburg County, and that we changed our residence from there to here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Board, no questions for Teresa?
I just want to follow.
Well, I'm not. I get that clear. If you don't mind, would you put that back up on the board, the last 5 things that were there when you enlarged it? While he's doing that, Teresa, had you ever pulled this sign before?
No, ma'am.
When did you pull this sign?
When Mr. Noor called and asked me to.
And this is campaign finance sites where you make contributions.
Yes.
Can you enlarge it for me?
Is it on the,
It's on the
the
state
board of
board.
elections?
Yeah, the state board's website. A lot of people pull this all the time. I've pulled this before, not an individual like her, but I have pulled it before. But
Can you get parts of it closer to that, close?
you can't see it. But I think that there's something there. Do you belong to the Women's Republican Party?
I do.
Do you have dues that's pulled out every year?
Excuse me?
Do you have dues that are ongoing and pulled out every year, or do you make that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I either can't hear you, Doctor.
Do you have to make that contribution?
Oh, no, I don't.
Is it automatically debited from your account?
No.
And are you the chief officer of our marketing office?
No. That's not where that came from.
That was odd to me that said on there.
Yeah. Her address is wrong too.
I don't want to interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's-
I think John just pointed out to me that there's a Waxhaw address on there too, and we've never lived in Waxhaw.
Can you pull it back up for
We
us,
don't
John?
own a home in Waxhaw, so I don't know.
With the wax on
It's just because we can't see it. Oh, it's more to the right, he said.
Can you go towards the right side?
On over toward, like, right where page one ends, that bottom one says. There you go.
I think what you're seeing here are the committee names and the addresses for the committee names.
See, Charlotte Mecklenburg, RW would be Republican Women's Group, is what my assumption is when I look at that. And,
It looks like that's the address of the committee.
yeah, that's what it is.
Is there another place I can move that for you, Madam Chair?
Now, that pretty well answered that question for me. Does the board have any other questions of Teresa?
No.
I just have one, you can read over follow-ups. I've forgotten to ask one thing. This is exhibit 2.5. Forgot to ask about the voter registration. This is the same voter history for John Joseph Emerson, correct? Ms. Garland?
Yes, that's what it says.
I asked that this be admitted as evidence as well in this.
Indeed.
That's fine, we'll follow up. I'm sorry.
Ms. Emerson?
Teresa, I just have one, it's a quick question. On the application for registration in the state of North Carolina, are you allowed to have a mailing address that's different than your physical address?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Does the board have any other questions?
The last witness is going to be Tina Emerson.
Thank you, Ms. Garland.
Yes, ma'am.
The record will show that Ms. Emerson's already been sworn.
Good afternoon, Ms. Emerson. I'd like to ask you likely several questions about some of the documents and some new ones as well. First, I'm going to ask you about what's been previously marked as Exhibit 241. This is the warranty deed for the purchase of your Matthews house. Is that correct?
I really can't see it.
You need to pick the mic up, Ms. Emerson. No, in front of you. One in front of you. Take that big mic, just pick it up and hold it there. And then we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for
We
enlarging.
also have the
It's
binder.
not on.
Is there a green light on it? Oh, no, it's not. Did you get turned off? Just hold the button a few seconds, Tina. It'll pop on.
Okay.
There you go.
It's there.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
This is the general warranty deed for your purchase of the Matthews home back in 2005, correct?
Yes, yes.
And you purchased that house back in 2005?
Yes, I
Correct?
do.
Okay. That was your residence in 2005, correct?
Yes.
sort of going forward with this. This will be out of order, but I think I heard that y'all have some dogs.
1 or 2.
Depending on the day or how they're behaving, or
Yes.
so
We
this
have 1 dog and we foster.
okay. So you have 1 dog, and then you might have another one that spends some time depending on foster. What's the foster program that you work with?
Lucky Labs Rescue.
Where is that located?
It's located out in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we started doing foster in 2010. So we fostered consistently since we adopted our first lab from Lucky Labs Rescue.
So you have your house in Athens, North Carolina, planning to reside in Graham County, and you're fostering animals out of Charlotte.
No, actually, our last foster was out of Lake Santeetlah. It was found in front of Town Hall. And Jim Hager can attest to this because apparently he saw it and left it there. And another lady that's here, her daughter, picked the dog up and brought it home. And she called me. We were in New York for Thanksgiving and asked if I would foster the dog. And I said yes. And I said, as soon as we get back, I'll be back on Sunday. I'll pick the dog up. And on the Sunday after Thanksgiving,
Well,
probably
just ask
Jim right back. So it's not, all the dogs are not in Charlotte, no.
Just asked you where you're fostering your animals, and you said Lucky Labs, right?
Lucky Labs is the rescue that we
Okay.
go
And
through.
then I asked you where that's located, and you said Charlotte,
In
North
Charlotte.
Carolina.
Yes,
Okay. So you're fostering animals in a foster facility out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
no, it's not a facility. It's
It's
just
not
a
a
rescue,
facility.
no, it's just a rescue group.
It's a rescue group out of Charlotte that you're working with, and you're living here in Graham County.
Yes.
Okay.
But the dogs come from all over, like I just said. Our first lab that we fostered was a chocolate lab that came from Tennessee. They come from all of the states all around, and they get adopted to all the states, as far north as Maine and as far west as Michigan.
And I'm going to present here with your mark exhibit 242. This is that unit of trust we talked about earlier. This is for that Matthews home as well, correct? 2011.
I see Mecklenburg County, yeah, so
Okay.
this is a refinance maybe.
Okay. This is for your Matthews property, correct?
That's correct. As far as I can tell, I can't see that.
You and your husband John are identified as the borrowers in that document?
Yes.
And just give me a second. On page 24212, under right above John Emerson and Tina Emerson, that's both of your signatures, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you promised to do what is in this document, correct? Okay. Right above that, it says, by signing below, borrower accepts and agrees to the terms and covenants contained in the security instrument and any right or executed by borrower and recorded with it. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct. This is the 2011 document.
One of those terms, paragraph 6, it says occupancy. I'm going to read it. You correct me if I read it incorrectly. It says borrower shall occupy, establish, and use the property. This is your Matthews. As borrower's principal residence within 60 days after the execution of the security instrument shall continue to occupy the property as borrower's principal residence for at least 1 year after the date of occupancy, unless lender otherwise agrees in writing, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld, or unless extenuating circumstances exist which are beyond the borrower's control. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, I would like
Okay,
to
well,
point out that
this
this
is my opportunity to ask questions. I know you'll have an opportunity to present evidence, but my question was, did I read that correctly?
yes.
Okay. Do you have anything in writing from your lender that otherwise excuses you from that requirement?
No, because within a year, that says within 1 year of occupancy, and that was 2011, and we didn't buy our home here until 2014,
Well, it says for at least a year, does it not?
or at least 1 year, which we did, yes.
unless otherwise agreed to in writing by your lender, and you don't have anything from your lender that excuses you from that reason. Did you discuss it?
Not that I know of, but it was for the 1 year, so let's hope that is correct.
In that document as well, you also indicated again, as of that time, 2011, property address is in Matthews, correct? That's where your residence is, correct?
That's where our residence was at that time in 2011, that's correct.
Showing you it's been marked as Exhibit 272. This is a deed of trust related to an equity line of credit. I'll call that out so you can see it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this is also related to Matthew's property, correct?
Yes.
In that document, as of that time, your residence is still in, at the top, send tax notices to John and Tina Emerson in Matthews, North Carolina. This is as of 2015, correct?
That's right. That was our residence then in 2015, and that was our mailing address then, and our mailing address still.
This has been marked as Exhibit 111. This is the warranty deed where you took title to the Santeetlah Lake House, correct? Dated 2014.
That's right.
And on that, you have your address again listed as the Matthews address and buying the second home, correct?
That's where all the way down goes.
And I believe you had, took out a mortgage on that Santeetlah property as well.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Most recent one being in 2017, correct?
I don't know.
Well, but there was one in 2017, is that correct?
I don't know.
I'll show you this. It's been marked as Exhibit 126. Give me a second here. Deed of trust. Correct. Read that correctly.
Refinance.
Okay, refinance. This is related to the Santeetlah property, correct?
Yes, that was in April of 2017, I think.
Filed May 2017, but in and around that time frame, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In that document where you refinance the property, just ask a couple questions about that. On exhibit, this is page 12 of that exhibit. Those are your signatures, correct? It's your signature and then you sign it to John?
That's right.
Okay. In that document, again, right above it, it has you committing to the covenants contained in there, in the agreement, as well as any riders, correct?
I can't read it, but I'll take your word for it.
Blow that up just so you can see it. By signing below, borrower accepts and agrees to the terms and covenants contained in this security instrument, and any rider executed by borrower and recorded with it. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. One of the riders, second home rider, is it?
That's what it says.
As part of that rider, again, that's your address, that's the address 124 Santeetlah Trail, correct?
That's true.
As part of that rider, you promise that you would only, and I'll read it again, borrower shall occupy and shall only use the property as borrower's second home. Did I read that correctly?
That's true.
So that's what you promised your lender in 2017. That's what you said you would do.
In 2017, that is true. That was true at that time.
Borrower shall keep the property property available for borrower's exclusive use and enjoyment at all times. Did I read that correctly?
You do.
So not just 2017, for as long as this deed of trust is in effect, correct?
I would not read it that way, no.
You don't believe that at all times means all the time?
I read it to mean that it's for our exclusive use and not other people's exclusive use. Like, it says they're not subject to property or time sharing or anything like that. So that's the way that I read that, is that it's for my and John's exclusive use.
That first sentence, though, on the back of that, it says, borrower shall occupy and shall only use the property of borrower's second home, period.
And then it says borrower shall keep the property available for borrower's
Ms. Emerson,
exclusive use.
I asked, is that what it says, period?
I think that you're interpreting it different than I do, so
Let's go back to it for a second. It says you will occupy and shall only use the property as your borrower's second home. Is that what it says, period?
that's what it says.
Okay, it doesn't say just in 2017, does it?
Shall occupy and shall use borrow the property as borrower's second home.
Not just in 2017, it says that's what you'll use it for, correct?
Yes, and at that time, that's what we had intended.
Now, that's in 2017, you're signing that document. Have you ever rented the house out?
No.
Never.
We have another home that's next to our home here, it's 106 Santeetlah Trail, they came together. It was the same owner that sold them together. And that house, we call the cabin, we rent that out, it's listed on the RBO, we rent out our house.
Sort of two lots that were sold together. And you rent that one out?
The other one, the cabin.
The other cabin, okay. This is that same exhibit. 126.16. Talks about property, the legal description of property. Includes both the lots, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, let's read the top here.
I
It's
can
lot one,
explain.
section 1A, doesn't it?
That's correct.
Okay. It also says addition below, doesn't it?
You're correct in that, it does say that, but the cabin is not on lot 1, section 1A, the cabin is on lot 2, section 1A. Our house is only this one, lot 1, section 1A, and lot 1, section 1A, because two owners before us, they bought property from the town of Lake Santeetlah, and added it in to our lot to make our, well, at the time it was their lot, to make their lot bigger. So basically where our driveway is now is the addition to lot 1, section 1A. Our cabin is on lot 2.
What I heard you say is that you bought both of them the same warranty fee, both lots, correct?
No, I used to want to keep.
Forgive me. You said you bought both lots together at the same time.
I did.
Okay. Well, you
But
got
in
it.
technicality, there were 3 lots then.
Let's go back here then, because I want to put up exhibit 111. That's the warranty deed you testified to. It's the same property description. This is in the deed of trust. Isn't it? Lot 1, section 1A. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Mr. Moore, but I think
And in addition to that, lot 1, section 1A, right below it. This is the deed you say you took title of both lots with, correct?
there were actually 3 separate lots. These 2 lots are on one property, and therefore, home at 124 Lake Santeetlah. If you were to do a deed search on our cabin at 106 Santeetlah, you will see that it says lot 2, section 1A, and that is the cabin that we rent out. This is just where 2 owners ago, they bought embankment pretty much, and they put it together. The deed is for these 2 lots that are together, and that's off of 124 Santeetlah Trail. The cabin that we rent out has a different address, a different tax. It's separate. It's not, it has nothing to do with this.
Ms. Emerson, I asked you if both of those lots were conveyed to you in the same deed, and your answer was yes. And I throw that up here, the actual warranty deed. the same property description as in that deed of trust, in which you commit to only using the house as a second home and to not renting. So, I don't know what you're describing. First it was 2, now it's 3 lots. But it doesn't seem to add up. I'll ask another question.
Can I explain this, please? When we bought the homes,
Ms. Emerson, I'd like to ask some additional questions. I think I've asked you.
She's entitled to answer it, Mr. Miller. She's entitled to explain. She's trying to answer your question. Answer the question, Ms. Emerson, explain.
I'm sorry, it is a little confusing, because when we put a bid on the homes, there were 2 lots. We believed that there were 2 homes, 2 lots. So we put a bid on them. They were sold, the deal was you had to buy both of them together. They're 2 individual lots. When we went to closing, Matt Talent had done a property search, and he said that actually, addition to lot 1A, addition to lot 1, section 1A, had been conveyed already with our house, the 124 Lake Santeetlah. So when we went to closing, we took the mortgage out and we bought with 124 Santeetlah Trail 2 lots. We didn't realize at the time that there were 2 lots. We thought it was 1 and 1. So in technicality, I guess you could say we have 3 lots, except those 2 together have been mushed to be 124 Santeetlah Trail. If you look on the Register of Deeds, we have another one. It's 106 Santeetlah Trail. That's the one that we rent. It has nothing to do with this. It's completely separate. There's 2 separate deeds, separate property lines, everything.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure I understand that either. But back to what we do have identified here in the second home rider, it identifies 124 Santeetlah Trail, correct?
That's correct. That's our home.
And in that occupancy rider, it says borrower shall occupy, shall only use the property as borrower's second home, correct?
That's what it was, yes.
Okay. And that's the address you claim is your principal which you claim is your residence on your voter registration, even though you signed a document to your lender saying you would only use it as a second home.
In April of 2017, that's what we signed, and that's at that moment in time.
You haven't paid off this mortgage, have you?
No, not yet.
So it's still full force and effect, sitting on the Register of Deeds. Your commitments are still binding, aren't they?
I don't think many people go back, however many years that is, and look at their deeds. See what their deeds say, or their mortgage deed of trust.
My question was, that deed of trust is still in full force and effect on the Register of Deeds because you haven't paid it off, and it still requires you only use it as a second home, correct?
If that's what that says, you determine.
One of the other things that I think is interesting about this, that it's dated April 28, 2017, you're committing to only use this home as your second residence, and you even repeated it in 2017. At that time, that was my intent. At the same time, you switched your voter registration from Mecklenburg County to Graham County, didn't you?
I changed it in the fall of that year. I did.
Okay. So despite promising your lender you're only going to use it as a second home in April, within a few months, you're now telling the Graham County Board of Elections that that's your principal residence in 2017, aren't you?
My intent changed.
Despite your commitment to your lender saying that it would only be used as a second house. Correct?
I think when you get a pack of mortgage papers to look at, I don't know how many people actually read like all 50 or 60 of them, and that the one sentence would stand out, that I would need to go back to them in October or September when I changed my residency to here. I guess you could ask that of other people that have done that, but
You saying that you signed your mortgage papers, but you didn't bother to read what was in it, what you were promising to do?
no, I do skim through them. I don't think that one sentence would have stood out to me in all of the papers.
while we're here, even though in 2017, you told this board, this body, the Board of Elections, that your permanent, your residence was going to be Graham County. You're moving, that's going to be your domicile. What did you do the next year?
I re-registered back in Mecklenburg County, but there was a reason that I registered here, because I was here for that whole entire fall. And so I registered here because that was my intent to stay here for that time.
And you switched on back the next year.
I think we're allowed to do that.
You just keep changing your residence whenever you feel like it.
Well, we moved a lot.
You live with your husband?
Yes.
Both have the same residence?
He probably was traveling a lot then. Up until COVID, he traveled almost all the time.
Y'all live together, you reside together, you both were living together, not in separate places, correct?
Usually. But not always, as you can see.
Would it surprise you then to know that that year your husband didn't change his residency to Graham County, and he kept his residency in Mecklenburg County?
No, because he was traveling a lot.
You live together with your husband, but you're registered to vote in two different places. Correct?
As far as I know, that's not against the law, and it wasn't part of our marriage contract that we had to vote in the same place.
Well, you just told me y'all live together, didn't you?
We do, but John was traveling a lot, so that doesn't mean that he would have been in the same place as me all of the time.
After you changed your registration back to Mecklenburg County, you then voted in 9 different elections in Mecklenburg County, correct?
I think it's at 6. 7.
Sorry, 7. Apologize.
Or 6.
You got 2018, 4 in 2019, 2 in 2027, correct?
I can't really see the dates, but I'll take your word for it.
Did you say 2027 is the
I forgive me, it's like the day I read this, not 2027. It should have said all the way from 2018 to 2020, 7 different times, correct? I think you mentioned before we were talking to Ms. Garland. You are a member of certain groups down in Mecklenburg County, correct?
I don't know that I
Charlotte.
would say I was a member. I get donations, all of my mail goes to Matthews, and I get tons of junk mail, you can call it, for all different sorts of things. And if I were to donate, then I would not call myself a member, but yes, I have donated different things. And
I
all
don't
of
really
the
want to go
rest of
into
them-
the what groups, I don't think that matters who you give money to or how much or whatever. We all get to make that choice. But what I do want to focus on is the fact that here, again, you changed your voter registration Graham County in September of last year. Then December of last year, you're making a $250 debit card payment, correct?
It's a check that says,
Check. December 2nd, 2021,
2021,
debit card,
yes.
doing that electronically.
Probably, yes.
Part of that process, you're indicating you're providing your contact information, and that's what Matthew's address is. You now reside in Graham County, correct?
Because that's my billing address. My mailing address is my billing address on everything.
I think you just said that all your mail goes to Matthew's, correct?
That's right, no.
All,
61. Yes.
all your important documents you have sent to Matthews, North Carolina.
All of my documents, occasionally will go to Amazon, whatever, someplace else.
Everything goes to Matthews.
I couldn't say 100% that things don't, but we get junk mail. At the 641 Swanquak Lane, which has been our mailing address since 2005, that's our mailing address, and that's where important papers come, bank statements, everything goes to that mailing address.
So that's the address listed on your banking statements. Okay. That's the address you use for tax returns.
Yes.
That's the address that's on your driver's license, isn't it?
Yes.
The address that's listed on your DMV records too.
It's the mailing address, but it's not the address, which I'll show you in my presentation. We have 4 cars that are registered here in Graham County, but the mailing address goes to the 641 Swanquak Lane.
As I just asked you, your driver's license says you live in North Carolina. That's what's listed on it.
Yes, it hasn't been renewed.
You have that with you here today?
Yes.
You show it to the board.
Do I have?
The board can require you to produce your driver's license and show it to them.
If they require it, I will.
You can't if you want to now, not good when you present yours.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it then.
Well, the reason I asked for now is I'd like to see the issue taken on.
I believe that it expires next year.
We can get to that if we have a copy of it. That does the time I'm happy with. Does your daughter live with you? You have a daughter, correct?
Yep.
Colleen, is that her name? She live with you?
Can I object to that, please? I don't think that our daughter should be brought into this.
I appreciate that. I have children myself, and that's the last thing that I'm trying to do is to bring a daughter into it. But it does have to do with something relevant to where people live and where they're registered to live. So I am asking, does she reside with you for a reason?
Our daughter is in medical school.
Does she reside with you and your husband?
If you're getting at, does she keep her mailing address at our home? I would say sometimes.
I'm asking, does she reside with you? And we've all worked on what reside means under the statute. Does she reside?
She does not live with us.
She does not live with you.
She does not.
Where does she reside?
I'd like to object to that. It's not part of our, she's not part of this. We have a daughter and a son, and this is a public hearing. And I would prefer that they not be in the Smoky Mountain News or any other, online or Google that is.
One meeting, sir. Good God.
Excuse me, we will maintain order.
So
We will maintain order.
So
I would like to keep our children out of this. This is about John and I. If there was a voter challenge against her, then it can be done by Diane against her. But this is not about our daughter.
I'll move on to that question.
You can answer the question if she lives with you or not, Ms. Miller.
You do not have to give the address before they reside.
Okay, she does not live with us.
If you don't answer his question on his son, the same way.
No, I didn't ask about son, and I'm not going to. I'm
Okay,
happy to
okay.
move forward. One of the things, I believe I heard that you may have taken a trip earlier this year to Guatemala or another country. Okay. Where did you fly out of? Was that with a group in particular?
It was
Or what kind of group?
a church group.
Is it your church?
And we have two churches. We have a church here, Prince of Peace, and we have a church in Matthews.
Okay. So is this with which are you a member of?
So,
You're a member of both churches.
yes,
And this was with which church?
the church in Charlotte.
Okay. Where'd y'all fly out of?
Charlotte,
Okay. Who took care of your dog as well?
pet sitter
Where did they sit your pets?
in Blacksall, North Carolina.
Okay. So you had your dogs taken care of. Like I saw, is that near Matthews?
It is,
You had someone watching your animals down in Matthews, North Carolina.
no, in Blacksall,
Excuse me, Waxhaw, near Matthews, North Carolina, correct?
Utah and Sept.
Not out here in Graham County where you say you reside.
We have been using the same pet sitter since our first lab in 2009.
You drive all the way to Waxhaw, have someone watching your pets.
Yes.
Maybe a few years ago it was, you had, maybe back in 2019, you had raised issues about other people serving on the Lake Santeetlah Town Council as being residents, didn't you?
So what was the date?
Back in 2019?
That's possible. I'm not sure of the exact date, but it sounds right.
Your email address, I think it was on your objection, is tme2468@yahoo.com, is that correct? I'm showing you what the market exhibit 215, I'm below some of these up. As part of this, this is an email, string of emails between you and looks like Kim, who is the administrator for the town, is that right? And then also you and Roger Carlson, correct?
I see Roger's name on the list, I believe so.
Reading from a couple of weeks. This is from Kim. Let me know if I'm reading this correctly. It's pointed out in the September meeting, Mary Williams was claiming primary residence in Georgia by having a homestead registered by certifying primary residence in Fulton County, Georgia. Patrick O'Donovan is notified the federal SEC under penalty of perjury that he has a second home in Lake Santeetlah. I believe it's time to stop playing games with the laws of North Carolina and for the town of Lake Santeetlah to obey the rules and laws of the state. Mary Williams and Patrick O'Donovan are primary residents of Lake Santeetlah. I'm requesting proof of their domicile here, a copy of their driver's license, a redacted copy of their North Carolina tax return showing their Lake Santeetlah address. This cannot be provided. Mary Williams and Patrick O'Donovan should immediately resign from the town council and order the council to appoint actual residents in the town. Did I read that correctly? So when you were questioning other people's residency, you asked for some of the same documents that this board asked of you, didn't you?
I asked that Mary and Patrick, they told other people that they were not, that this was a second home. They did not say that this was their primary home, and, or that they intend to be here. And Mary's case is a little bit different because she was appointed to the council just a few days after she registered to vote versus the council.
If I read it correctly, I am requesting proof of their domicile here, a copy of their driver's license, redacted copy of their income tax return showing the Lake Santeetlah address. I read that correctly. That's what you were asking for, that they provide proof of their domicile. Correct? last area that I asked about. In the water bills, put these up. These were produced by the town of Lake Santeetlah. This is your usage at the property. This is starting back in 2019. For that bill period, your consumption is 231 gallons. Is that correct?
That's right.
Does that sound right to you? Any reason to believe that's not accurate? The next bill, we're looking at 59 gallons. 59 gallons for the entire 3 months. Is that accurate?
I believe that's the time, if you look at the date that the county was closed. Due to COVID.
Your consumption is 59 gallons.
That's true.
And next one, we've got 137 gallons during the next quarter, correct?
That's also during COVID.
641 during the next period, correct? 462 during the next period, correct? 799 during the next period, correct? 1,095 for your bill in June of 2021, correct?
I can't really see the numbers, but it looks like 1,000 something. Yes,
1,095, correct?
in June of 2021, yes.
I think we've already looked at the last 4 bills. I want to ask you about a comparison. If you were to take and got all the bills here, you're saying you got your registration, filed that in September of last year, saying I'm now a resident of Graham County, no longer resident of Mecklenburg County, which was your prior residence, correct?
I'm sorry.
I understand, we've been here, I've been at it for a while. When you filed your registration change in September of last year, you said you were setting your residence in Graham County, correct? Before that, it had been in Mecklenburg County, correct? So, you had been residing in Mecklenburg County before that, you'd expect to see an increase in your water usage after you changed to Graham County, wouldn't you?
Yes, but there were extenuating circumstances during that time period that there was a reason the water was down. And it has to do with being in Maryland to take care of the sick family for a extended period of time.
If we look here on the left-hand side column, you see that your pre-registration quarterly bills show usages, average usage of 695 gallons per month. Is that correct?
I haven't added them all up.
Do you have any reason to believe that number is incorrect?
As long as you took them from the bill.
You've got the bill numbers right above them, correct? Go back and forth and compare them if you'd like.
No.
That's before you say you change your residence to Graham County. Does your usage, water usage go up or down after you claim to move to Graham County?
Well, like I said, there was extenuating circumstances that I wasn't here to use water, and that was to take care of my mother who had a subdural hematoma and a stroke. And so I was in Maryland for quite a while, for about a year and a half, on and off. 10 days, 2 weeks in Maryland, back here a few days, back up there for a few days, back and forth. So it would be determined that as long as there's no water leaks, we would have had a lesser water bill during that time.
My question though is, after you say you changed your residence away from Mecklenburg to Graham County, I asked if you thought your water usage would go up. You answered yes. This shows that it went down, does it not?
It does show that, but there's a
Down by
reason it went down.
17%.
But there's a reason it went down. So
Okay, so you're now claiming to live here, but you're using less water than when you were supposedly living in a different county.
I wasn't even in North Carolina for a lot of that time. But if you wanted to subpoena my sister's water bill, you probably would find that hers was higher. So
The board subpoenaed you for your water bills from Matthews, and you haven't provided those, have you?
No, because we rejected, which we're allowed to do.
Excuse me, we're gonna take a 10-minute recess.
I think we've been talking about, we talked about a number of things. I'll pick up where I feel like we left off, which was related to Megan, and you testified that you get your tax documents to Matthew's address, correct? Banking records, turn it on so that.
Yes.
Banking records to Matthew's.
All mail goes to Matthews.
Okay. That's what lists for your credit card, debit card statements, anything like that, correct? If you get, I'm not asking you to talk about what is in your medical records. I don't want to know that, but if you were to get communications from the doctor's office or medical records, it would go to your Matthews address, correct?
Yes. That's what mail is.
Your passport, I think you said you went to Guatemala on that trip, correct? Your passport indicates that you live at your Matthews address.
Our passport is from almost 9 years ago, so yes.
You have not changed it since moving, since you were alleged to have moved to Grand County, correct?
It's the same.
Is it on?
It is, but if you'll keep your voice up.
Okay, sorry.
Something up on the screen here. You mentioned your address on your driver's license is the Matthews address. I'm reading from General Statute 20-7.1, notice of change to address when named. The person whose address changes from the address stated on the driver's license must notify the division of the change within 60 days after the change occurs. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
You've not notified the division of your change, have you?
No, I have not.
Despite being required by law to do so.
That's correct.
Those are my questions.
Does the board have questions? Ms. Emerson?
Yes, I have a couple. You have residents, Matthews, one here, and also a farm. Is that correct?
No, the Florida home is a rental home.
Yeah, okay. I guess the question I was asking, in a ballpark figure, how much time do you spend in Matthews, how much time in Florida, how much time here and anywhere else? I know you travel some.
It's been a lot lately, as I said.
Speak up, I can't hardly hear you.
I'm sorry. It's been a lot lately. We just had a lot going on. We go back and forth between Matthews and here. Those we don't rent out the Matthews home. We don't rent out a home here. We have a home in Florida that we bought after selling my childhood home, which we had in Maryland. We spend time in the rental homes when we're there in between tenants, which I'll show you in our slide, renovating. But otherwise, they're not residences. We are not there to live, you know, so.
Help me out. I know I'm looking at these pictures here where, you know, it looked like maybe you weren't there. Can you give me a ballpark in the year, this year, 2022, how many days you might have spent here in Lake Santeetlah?
Quite a few. I take pictures, which is how I keep track of things of my life. And if you were to go through my photo album on my phone, you would see that we're here quite a bit. We go back and forth. So in fact, tomorrow we're going on vacation, so we won't be at either address. So I can't give you a date, I'm sorry, but we do go back and forth from Matthews to here, but we intend to be here, and we give up our voting rights there.
Much has been said about intent, because actually when you change the registration, you intended to be here. Is that your future here, you intend to make this year?
It's our intent for now and for the future. go out?
No.
It might have died. It's been on a while
I think
today.
it's odd,
Yeah.
Yes, sir, it is.
Use that one table right there.
Is that one cut on this?
I think it is.
Yes.
I just have a follow-up. If there are no questions from the board.
Go ahead.
Ms. Emerson, you were asked by Board Member Chris, give an approximation of how much time you're spending in town. You really weren't able to quantify that. You saw a number of pictures by date, testimony from Ms. Simon and Mr. Hager on days that you were not within town. Which of those dates do you claim are inaccurate and you were in residence, you were at the town, but they say you weren't there?
I would have to go back through, but there are dates, which I have in my presentation, that Diane said that we were not here and she took pictures. But just because she took a picture of that moment in time, when my car wasn't in the driveway, that doesn't mean that I wasn't there. There's some pictures where she said I wasn't there, and I don't know, maybe it was at the store or at town hall. But I have a picture of me being there. So
My question was, which dates are you saying you were there and the photo says you're not?
I couldn't tell you that offhand.
Your answer is you can't say it right now.
But right now, I could not. It would take a while to go through, and so that's why I cannot say. But we,
You don't have any evidence right now that shows that those photos are correct.
I have evidence on my presentation that I will get you this.
None of those dates come to mind standing here right now.
The January date comes to mind, when Diane said we weren't here, because I have a picture that I took of the front entrance, and I have a picture that I took that I'll show you with the dog with the scarf on, and there's a picture that I'll show you at a Christmas party. So
Sounds like you've got evidence you'll present in your case, but you can't think of any dates right now.
I just gave you some
It's in
dates.
January.
That's what I'm thinking right now. There's other dates that were here, I just can't tell you off the top of my head. I mean, this is day 270 or 271 of this year, so I cannot tell you 271 days or whereabouts.
Those are my questions. That was my question.
Are you finished, Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I have no further witnesses.
Is there anything for you to share evidence?
Yes, please. Can I have just a,
She's already finished. We don't have the attorney instructions. We'll do this on some documents for him.
You've got documents that you're going to reject on. If you've got documents on the screen that you want to show, we're going to need hard copies with labels on this for which exhibits we're referring to.
okay, can we get those to you after?
The problem with that is that it's, once it leaves the custody of the board, there's no security on something like that. So we will need actual exhibits.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, we did not know that. We have it on PowerPoint, we could share it with you if you would consider that. Otherwise, we have no exhibits that we can share with you then, so.
It's going to pose a problem with the record. The record is important because if either party appeals, the court's going to want to see what was the evidence that was presented.
May I comment, Mr. Chair? We asked many times, what's the procedure going to be? What do we need to do? And every time we were told, we haven't done this before, we're not sure. No one ever told us that we needed to bring evidence.
That's why you need a lawyer.
Well, we didn't do anything wrong, and we felt we're confident of the information we have, and we thought we didn't need a lawyer. Well, that was basically our thinking.
I'm sorry, I mean, it's a problem from a legal standpoint to protect the integrity of the hearing.
That's okay. We will move forward without it. So we did not print out any copies.
Is it a lot of documents or just a few?
It's pictures, and some are water comparing so that you can see. When I get a water bill, it has a graph on it, so you can see the graph from the town of Lake Santeetlah. What they printed out and gave to you, to the board, does not have a graph, so you can actually see the graph and comparing that the constant water use for the entire time, and then another one is with our cabin, the one next door that we rent out, how there's water use and then it just goes flat, where there's no water use. So I can try and explain the pictures to you as I talk about it.
The problem is, if a judge is looking at a record of this,
They have to see it.
they have to see to know what they're looking at.
I just have to tell you then, I guess.
Can we provide you a copy after we're done?
That's a problem because of the security nature of, it's up to the board about what you want to do. Would you make copies in 10 minutes? Or?
Well,
I don't know.
If you in your election board office, you can keep it in your possession and watch them make the copies for security reasons. And then we put exhibit numbers on it.
I've got some examples, I'm sure.
So we'll have that for the evidence.
Okay, thank you.
it's on a
How long will it
floppy.
take, you know?
It's all on one PowerPoint, so however long it can click over to your printer or whatever, I don't know.
You can choose which parts of it
I think there's about only 40. I mean, it's not like this.
We do want to give her time to do that. We need it for the record. And we apologize for the reason.
Yeah, it's really not.
Is it possible to do that?
Have you got PowerPoint on that computer over there? Okay.
Is it just for Tina? We're not going to get to mine tonight, so we don't need mine now?
Okay, we don't know.
Okay.
At this point, we don't know.
Well, just because I don't want to take your time.
We can finish today.
Us too.
Okay. And I think Mr. Noor is probably on the same mindset that we are, hoping we can finish today. You have a lot of documents too that's in the PowerPoint, Mr. Emerson?
No, mine's even less. Maybe 20.
Okay, so can we get that done in 15 to 20 minutes, do you
I
think?
think so. We can just print it out and then put the labels on.
So
Go forward to give you some labels.
to put on it for your exhibit, Mr. Noor.
I may have some extra exhibit labels as well, and I'm happy to share those. What I wanted to state for the record, though, is I'm reserving, I've got to see what this is before I can make objections as to whether it's actually evidence versus a PowerPoint presentation. Those are not the same things. Pictures, documents versus an argument in a PowerPoint presentation. So I just wanted to reserve the right to object once I see it.
And that's not what we're asking.
Yep,
We're just asking, get something on paper so we know what's going to be like.
Okay, and so each copy should be an exhibit number, a separate exhibit number for each copy?
It's a separate document, every document should have a separate.
Okay, and if it's a picture, it's a,
Pictures of documents.
okay.
And you should make one for the board and one for your opposing party.
Okay.
Do we need individual ones, or just we can do one? Just okay. That'll save paper and time.
Okay.
And if you want to save time, you can put the exhibit label on one copy, white on the others, the number.
Okay.
Just to save time, and the ones that are hard copies, which are original exhibit label, that's what will be retained as exhibits by the board or the board.
Okay, thank you.
So, Tash, can you Teresa assist them this morning trying to do that? Do you have that PowerPoint presentation?
I do. I just was waiting for you to recess before I jumped up. Yeah.
Yeah, here's you.
Oh, okay, okay.
They had